And the last stage of preeclampsia is your kidneys starting to show that there is an issue. But sometimes that may just be the case. Some women may not have high blood pressure, but may still have their kidneys impacted. They may have other signs such as excessive swelling. They may have signs such as frequent headaches, blurred vision. They might not be able to concentrate. There might be so many other factors to include when diagnosing preeclampsia, right? This is the Birth Agni podcast, the fire that brings us alive, that burns myths and opens a channel of authentic natural birth stories. This show debunks the many myths of the medicalized births, showcases the plethora of choices a pregnant couple can make to embark on their empowered birth journey. I'm Divya Kapoor, a certified birth and lactation counselor and an aspiring traditional birth attendant. Let's get the flames blazing high. Hello, I've been meaning to record this episode since yesterday night. This morning I tried, and I'm here now, today evening, recording this episode while I had another recording cancelled. I'm not able to keep up with Wednesdays. So I am thinking that most definitely you're going to have one episode every week because, yes, I am a mother and it's hard for me to be able to have a date as a birth worker to be able to have these episodes out and running. But I do mean to make sure that all these episodes do help you. Definitely, definitely. That's what I mean. That's what I have at my heart. So I am going to take back my promise of Wednesdays today. Reality strikes, right? And I'm going to keep the promise that there is going to be an episode every week. So, an update, Devi was not well since 2 days. I gave her an infection and she has been coping up well. Um, that's what happens when you don't introduce a lot of medicines. And in my case, none. So, it definitely helps. So, which is why no recording yesterday, this morning. I woke up, and before I did, everybody in the house was up and I could not record. So, we are here finally speaking to you about preeclampsia. The reason why I wanted to have an episode on preeclampsia, now this is serious. I wanted to have an episode on preeclampsia because of how easily women with one episode of high blood pressure, 2 episodes of high blood pressure, or a high blood pressure in previous pregnancy, they are being diagnosed as pre-eclamptic without any cofactors. If you are a pregnant woman listening to this right now, you must have come across a situation like this in your pregnancy or in someone else's pregnancy. And if you are a birth worker listening to this, I want you to imagine a pregnant woman, one of your mothers, come to you with any of these situations. And how do you handle that? Of course, we handle that with information, which is why this episode. But all these cases are really frustrating. It's really frustrating to see that one episode or no episode of high blood pressure in this pregnancy makes you preeclamptic, wherein preeclampsia is not about just blood pressure. So, we are focusing on the definition of preeclampsia in this episode. We are not going to talk about the prevention of preeclampsia. We are not going to talk about the management. Prevention, we are going to cover in the upcoming episodes. This episode is designed for you as a pregnant woman to be able to take back the questions you can ask your support team, your providers, when you are presented with a situation where you're diagnosed with preeclampsia. So you ask better questions and make better choices for yourself. That is why this episode is designed. And for a birth worker, it's just to open up about preeclampsia and to share what I've been learning about it and what I have seen in my practice. So, what is preeclampsia, right? When it's not just about high blood pressure. Preeclampsia, according to Anne Fry and many other journals and all the medical textbooks, and the newest understanding of preeclampsia, the definition of it is preeclampsia is a multi system disorder, meaning that it can originate in one or two systems of the body and impacts one or two systems or more in your body. So it may or may not be just about high blood pressure. It's really interesting to me right now that how preeclampsia was in the olden times called metabolic toxemia, quote unquote, metabolic toxemia. After a while, it came to be called as preeclampsia. I'm very, very sure, and I definitely have this inkling that there was a wise meaning in it being called metabolic toxemia than just preeclampsia. And today, in all our advancement of science, we are trying to prevent preeclampsia from happening, but we are stuck in a hamster wheel, right? Where we are trying to find more and more solutions to a problem that may not exist, and at an attempt at preventing a problem that probably might not exist because we are only looking at the symptoms today and not really understanding, diagnosing from a bigger picture of where this problem arises. And this is what happens if we are trying to over prevent something that may or may not be present. And it's good to know right now that 5 to 7 to 8% of pregnancies in the world only are real preeclamptic by statistics. Now, at an attempt of preventing something that's not rampant, we may be overdiagnosing, and many healthy women are then left unsupported for vaginal births and have to undergo a surgery, which is not okay. Definitely not okay. So, whatever we know about preeclampsia and whatever attempt we make right now to understand this phenomena, we are better equipping ourselves with knowledge to be able to ask better questions for you as a birth worker and for you as a pregnant woman. So that's what we are trying in this episode. And before I go ahead and explain to you what happens in your body when you are pregnant with regards to the diagnosis of preeclampsia, I want to right now say that no expert has all the answers. We all can fail against the magnanimity and the magic of nature. So, while we talk about this, this phenomena, we stay humble in our knowledge, in our understanding of what we have been able to discover so far, and understand that there's so much we do not know. On that note, let's highlight what preeclampsia is not. It is not just high blood pressure. It is not just swelling. It is not just protein in urine. There's so much more to it. And once we understand this, we open up the various possibilities of where preeclampsia can and cannot lie. And then let's begin with the first system, which is heavily impacted by pregnancy and which is involved in preeclampsia. And that's our circulatory system, that's our heart. And when we go through how circulatory system changes normally in pregnancy, we are able to understand that any of the symptoms that I just spoke about, they alone do not necessarily point to a problem. They may, at a particular point in pregnancy, at a particular time in pregnancy, may hint at a problem, and at another time may be absolutely normal. So, what time in pregnancy are we watching these problems is also a factor which needs to be calculated or measured or observed when we are trying to diagnose a problem. So, your circulatory system, the center of the circulatory system is heart pumping blood to all the parts of the body. In pregnancy, you develop a special organ called placenta, which gives nutrition to your baby. It's attached to the umbilical cord to the baby, and that's the medium through which the nutrition goes to the baby. And that's also the medium, the placenta, a circular, round, blood filled organ, is also the medium through which the baby excretes. So all the waste product from the baby goes back into the maternal system and is filtered out of the mother's body through her kidneys. So the circulatory system plays a big role. In order to make that entire organ, which is what is placenta is a blob of blood vessels and blood and flesh That's what it is. And it's there for exchange of nutrition between the baby and the mother and information between the baby and the mother. And for that, blood uh, that goes into the baby's system, and the blood that is required to be able to absorb a lot more nutrition from the maternal system to be able to nurture the baby, all that needs an expanded blood volume. What is blood volume? Your blood is made up of red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets. They're all dipped in a soup, which is the plasma. Plasma is the blood volume, and your red blood cells are also something that rises in pregnancy. So, for the blood volume to rise, your fluid is retained in the body, which is utilized to be able to increase the volume of blood in your body. And what all nutrients are used in that? Salt. For salt, another system comes into picture, and that is your liver. Your liver is instrumental in making sure that water is retained from your body to be able to support the circulatory system, and all the nutrients that liver processes are able to do that. And salt being one of the important, and magnesium being one of the important ones in that. So, so this is how your circulatory system is able to support your pregnancy. Now, it's important to understand the placenta is formed in the first trimester, in the early second trimester. Its work is pretty much established. So, a lot of work at expansion of blood volume happens up until 20 weeks. Now, you need to understand that if the blood volume expands, your blood pressure will dip. So, for a lot of women in early pregnancy, the blood pressure dips till about 20th week, and after that it becomes stable. And then towards the end of pregnancy, when the blood volume naturally constricts to be able to provide a lot of energy, a lot of for the body to be able to handle labor, the blood volume constricts, which is why some women see a rise in blood pressure, a natural rise in blood pressure towards the end of pregnancy. So, what we do understand from the natural physiological changes in the circulatory system, your blood pressure will naturally dip in the first two trimesters. In the early second trimester, it would stabilize then, and it can naturally then rise towards the end of the pregnancy when most of the work at nurturing the baby is done. And now that blood volume does not need to expand anymore, it gets constricted a little, due to which women see a bit of a rise in blood pressure when they're about to go into labor to be able to support labor. Now, you remember this, right? Because we are going to use this when we come to our second system, which is very instrumental in understanding preeclampsia, which is your liver. Now, we have already understood that liver plays a great role in water retention, in supporting circulatory system to be able to maintain the blood volume. Salt is so important. Now, alongside salt, that needs to be adequate in pregnancy, which is why we recommend that women do not reduce their salt intake to be able to reduce the chances of blood pressure. You need the salt to be able to maintain your blood pressure at the right levels, because if you're not taking salt, then your blood volume will not be able to expand as much as it should. And in an attempt to expand that blood volume, your heart will pump faster and the blood pressure will rise, as against your blood pressure dipping because you're not having enough salt. You do need the right kind of salts in pregnancy and the right amount. So, salt to taste, salt to your knees is very important. Another thing that supports your body in water retention is your protein. This protein that is utilized in pregnancy is required, and liver processes that protein. So if that protein is not very well processed by liver, your body loses that protein into your urine, which is why protein in urine is considered as a sign of pre-eclampsia, because your liver is not able to process the protein, which is why eventually your blood volume will reduce and your blood pressure may rise. Now, it's paramount to understand that Your body may not work at an optimum function because of certain other problems with your liver alone, or certain other problems with your circulatory system alone, or with other essential minerals that may play an important role at creating that balance in your body. Now, you can have preeclampsia even if your circulatory system is working absolutely fine and is able to compensate for substandard levels at which your liver is functioning. But if your liver is not functioning properly in pregnancy and you have a problem there, your circulatory system has still managed to keep up. Your kidneys will still have to do extra work to be able to filter and take out the toxins from the body, which was partly the work of the liver to help you with. So your kidneys can be impacted. And the last stage of preeclampsia is your kidneys starting to show that there is an issue. But sometimes that may just be the case. Some women may not have high blood pressure, but may still have their kidneys impacted. They may have other signs such as excessive swelling. They may have signs such as frequent headaches, blurred vision. They might not be able to concentrate. There might be so many other factors to include when diagnosing preeclampsia, right? So it's very important right now to understand for you as a pregnant woman that you can ask more questions. And in the beginning of the episode, I gave you two questions. And if I did not, these are your two questions. And please get a copy and a pen and write these two questions down. If you are in a situation where you are diagnosed for preeclampsia, your first question should be, what does it mean for my baby and for my pregnancy? 2, what does it mean for the process of my birth? Those two questions alone will encourage further understanding of the process. There is more to it, yet there's more to what else can cause preeclampsia and how early we can figure out or diagnose if we need to. But we, as birth workers, as holistic birth keepers, we do not overdiagnose things. So if nothing presents to us, if you're absolutely healthy, fine, the baby is growing well, we will not be bothered. And that is precisely how things should be. There is another thing that is very important here, but I will not include it in this episode. It may be something that I might include in my premium private episode that with further details into what preeclampsia can look like and how we can diagnose it. But for now, all this information I hope gives you an understanding of what preeclampsia is and is not. I would also like to, at this point, include that there are new research papers coming up saying that nutrition is not enough and has not proven to help you prevent preeclampsia, whereas Dr. Tom Brewer's diet, and from this you've understood that there is a physiological change in the body that the body needs to support with the adequate mineral as well as nutrition support to be able to do what it needs to do. So the best prevention at preeclampsia is your diet. Make sure that your diet is okay. Make sure that you're active in balance and you're resting in balance. That in a majority of cases will be helpful in ensuring that you don't have preeclampsia. Anyway, that's not something that happens to everybody. There is so much more we can do to manage it, but that is for another episode. I hope this helped you get some understanding of preeclampsia. If it did, please go ahead and rate this episode, review it, and I'll see you in the next episode. There is a field beyond fear, where the body is empowered to take on labor and birth. To land there, it is crucial to take birth education. To enroll into our unique labor and birth preparation course, reach out to us at www.birthagni.com or scroll through all available prenatal and postnatal preparation classes. Thank you for listening, all in the spirit of birth, womanhood, and freedom. Remember, you got the power. This podcast is about physiological birth and does not offer or claim to provide medical knowledge or diagnosis.